Good morning and welcome to our show. Now, elder law is something that we really don't talk about a lot, but it is something that is really necessary, especially, well, the older that we get, whether it's you as an elderly person or a child that has elderly parents. And so we're today talking to Dennie Mayhone with Mayhone Elder Law Firm in Ocean Springs. Dennie, how are you? Good to see you.
Thanks to see you.
First off, before we get into it, actually, give me a little bit about your background, if you would, please.
Sure. Well, I graduated from Biloxi High and then joined the military and went around the world. I came back and went to law school. When I finished law school, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And so for the last 5 or so years, I've been practicing and focusing on elder law. And in January, I actually opened up Mayhone Elder Law PLLC. And our focus is really seniors and those with disabilities and their families. Traditional estate planning focuses on what happens when I die. How do I avoid taxes and things like that? And what we like to ask is, what happens if I don't die? What happens if I become disabled? The disability question with dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, debilitating diseases that take a lot of resources and assets to take care of. So at Mayhone Elder Law, what we focus on is, how do we integrate the legal, financial, and personal care needs to create a comprehensive plan for the senior or the family to protect their assets and protect themselves from these debilitating costs associated with long-term care.
Now, I know that they worry about, elders worry about, if I have to go into a home to be taken care of, assisted living center or what have you, a nursing home, what is going to happen to my property if I'm not protected? And a lot of times, a child or the children of the elders are concerned about that too. What's going to happen to mom and dad's home, their land, or whatever. Especially down here, we have a lot of just land owners because people that lived here for many, many years, and they're worried about losing it. Is the state going to come in and take it over? Do I have the children, do I have to pay some taxes or whatever? And these are a lot of questions that you answer.
Right. We get a lot of questions. Probably the number one question, or one of the number one questions, is what happens to my home if I go to a nursing home? Well, with proper planning, whatever you want to happen to it. That's the key. With proper planning, we can make your estate plan work for you, not against you. We can make sure that your children don't have to come out of pocket to pay for your long-term care costs. We all want to stay at home. That's what we would like, ideally.
Sure.
Go to sleep one night and be called home. And so what happens is, without planning, we're kind of rolling the dice. What's going to happen? We're leaving it up to destiny to decide for us. Whereas with planning, we can say, okay, should I become disabled, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to stay at home as long as possible, and when that's not possible, put a plan in place to protect me and my family.
Now, you do a lot of public speaking. You hold seminars around the Gulf Coast area along this line, educating people exactly as to what's needed. What do you find that are some of the other questions that you get asked, or things that you have to cover to give people? And the major thing is peace of mind. Knowing that when something happens to me, I'm disabled, or something happens to my parents that they're disabled, the states or whoever's not going to come in and attach some kind of lien to it or something to where it's not mine anymore.
Sure. Some of the top questions are, what happens to me if I become disabled? Who makes those decisions for me? Do I need a will? It's a very common question.
That's a big question. Do you deal with a lot of wills, or even are living wills? Seems like living wills over the past 10, 20 years have becoming more prevalent. People are going ahead and doing living wills.
Sure. The difference between a last will and testament and a living will is pretty simple. A last will and testament is basically what happens after death, whereas a living will is directive of what happens if I'm in a vegetative state, have a terminal illness or incurable condition, and can no longer experience a meaningful life. Do I want to continue living and be made comfortable and taken care of? Or do I want things to be stopped and more go to what's called palliative care, or just make me as comfortable as possible, and if I'm going to die, let me die.
Right.
And so we get a lot of those death-type questions. But also important is, who's going to make decisions when I can't? And that's the disability question. When I can no longer manage my affairs, either healthcare or financial affairs, who's going to manage them for me? And without some planning in place, it could end up that a judge or a family member appoints that person for you through the use of court and judicial oversight, called a conservatorship.
Okay.
Not a lot of people want the government telling them who gets to control their things or how it's going to work. And so with proper planning, those can be avoided.
Now, what can happen, just let's say, worst case scenario, you don't make these plans. Let's say you have a nice home in the country, you know, so some acres, 10, 15, 20 acres of land out there that you've had in the family for a long time. Something debilitating happens to you, and you have to go in a nursing home, and you haven't made these plans. Worst case scenario, what could happen? Everything
could be lost on taking care of you. It really does also look at, do you have a spouse or do you have no one, children, etc. Are you single or are you married? If you're married, there are special protections in place to protect the spouse. If you're single, it could all be lost to that cost of care. And that's what we see the most devastating.
So would it be a good idea to where, if let's say you are single, you know, or a widower, and you have no children, can you make arrangements that could be left to another family member or even a friend?
Sure, with proper planning, you can decide what happens to your assets, whether it's for your family, a friend, a charity, your favorite organization, whatever it is. With your proper planning, you get to decide what happens to your assets.
So, and that was going to be my next question about, you can leave it to charities and something like that.
Sure.
So, you know, so you have several different options, but a lot of people don't realize that there are a lot of options to choose from.
We get lots of times, I didn't know I could do that. And it really is just knowing your options, and that's where we hold our workshops, so that people have an understanding or have a place to go and ask the questions. Also, our website has a lot of valuable information on there to help guide people and give them places where they can find the answers to their questions.
Good. Well, matter of fact, the website is on your screen right now if you'd like to go to the website and get more information on that. If you'd like to call Mayhone Law Firm over in Ocean Springs, and you know, you'll ask them questions and
Sure.
find out about if they're good for something like that.
Right. What we don't want to do is have people come into our office who we can't help.
Right.
So we're going to ask them a few questions just to make sure, if we're not right for them, can we refer them to someone who can help them?
No, that's very important. So something to remember. I mean, we have a lot of people that are you know, retiring down here. Thank you so much for the great information. We'll look forward to having you back again to have some more information for everyone. So if you'd like some more information, like to find out if this is what you need to do, call the number on your screen. Check out the website for more information from the Mayhone Law Firm.